You might be looking at this review and thinking, who is Oppo? Well, out in China, they're mostly known for their Blu-ray players, but this time around, Oppo is looking to crack the smartphone market, especially in North America, with this, their first entry. Now, when you're looking to break into a whole new market, sometimes you want to make a really big entrance. And I can assure you that this is certainly a device that is deserving of your attention. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is the Oppo Find 5. Perhaps on the heels of the fellow Chinese manufacturers Huawei and ZTE, Oppo wants in on the Western market and they won't spare any expense. The Oppo Find 5 is one in what is expected to be a long line of devices sporting 5-inch screens. If the Find 5 is any indication, this is going to be a really good mobile year. With a sleek white profile, the Find 5 definitely has style. When you're getting into a new market, you can start by imitating the best, and reminiscence of the great-looking Sony Xperia phones is definitely welcome here. The screen, its bezel, and the area with the 3 capacitive buttons are the only black portions of this phone, as the rest of the body is made up of a clean white plastic. The button layout is rather unique on this phone, as it is essentially mirrored from devices we know quite well. When in the right hand, the power button is on the left where your index finger would land, and the volume rockers are on the opposite side with your thumb. The top of this smartphone has the headphone jack, while the bottom has an off-center micro USB port. The white trimming then starts on the bottom and goes around the back. Oppo, though sideways, is in the center of the Find 5's back. Just don't get confused and say it is made by Auto. Just like with various buttons, the camera and flash diode are lined with a very classy looking silver trim, and at the bottom is the speaker grill. This is most definitely a great looking phone, and it uses simplicity to compensate for its larger size. Because the Find 5 sports a 5-inch screen, the entire form factor is larger than our common devices. As a result, working with one hand on this phone is a little more difficult than usual. There's a little bit of a learning curve here, and those with small hands might have to learn a few new tricks, like using your pinky to support the bottom, or getting used to bringing your grip up the phone a ways in order to get a few tasks done. Oppo's Find 5 is also a little heavy, but it helps the balance of the phone when it's in your hand. That weight can be your undoing though if you ever accidentally drop it. Construction is also of a pretty top-notch quality. There are no flimsy parts, and the smoothness across the entire device adds a really professional and classy appeal to an already good-looking phone. The size might take some getting used to, but I'm certain you'll get some compliments on the large screen and the sleek looks. Speaking of the screen, it is certainly one of the main attractions. The IPS display is 5 inches large and can display 16 million colors at 1080p. Perhaps the best part about this screen, however, is the pixel density. Coming in at 441 ppi, this is probably the sharpest screen I have ever had the pleasure of using. Text is rendered incredibly well, even when zoomed all the way in. And colors look so nice on this display, so anything with massive amounts of detail will be done more than enough justice. The mark of a great screen is clarity under pretty much any other condition. A very good level of brightness allows the incredible display to be seen under direct sunlight, but the real impressive feat deals with the viewing angles. Rotate the phone pretty much as far and at as many degrees as you can, and the screen will be visible and legible nonetheless. You might mistake the display for a sticker that's plastered onto the glass. My only real critique on the display would be the color temperature. I kind of expected the white and brighter colors to really pop out and shine through the screen, but by putting an overall warmer tone over the display, things seem a little less aggressive and a lot more laid back. It doesn't detract from the achievement that is Oppo's screen on the Find 5, but I just would have loved to see it fully taken advantage of. But you know what? I won't be too critical, because it certainly is being taken advantage of by everything underneath the hood. The Find 5, being Oppo's first foray into the smartphone market, needed to really make its mark by appealing to pretty much any kind of user, so it is packing some serious power. With the fastest processing package available on smartphones today, the Find 5 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro processor backed up by an Adreno 320 graphics unit. The icing on top of the cake, however, is the 2GB of RAM for multitasking. Boot up is pretty quick and the simplistic UI flies through its elements. Gaming is incredible on the Find 5 as the powerful specs power games through the incredible screen. It's perhaps the most enjoyable gaming experience I've had on a phone. Even if the larger form factor has its disadvantages, they are more than made up by the enjoyment you'll have harnessing all of this power. Benchmark tests have put the processor and graphics performances among the best performers in the market today. And puts the Oppo Find 5 among top smartphones like the LG Optimus G and the Nexus 4. And to further show the graphics prowess, this benchmark using Epic Citadel shows the Find 5 just coasting through the Unreal Engine. If this is going to be the story for the line of 5-inch screen phones coming this year, we may have to start differentiating between the larger devices and the current smaller ones. 16 gigabytes of memory are what you get in the base model of the Find 5, and this is where the specifications take an increasingly common turn. You can notice that the back cover is not removable, and thus there's no way of taking out the battery or expanding the memory. Luckily, with the Find 5 being a flagship device, Oppo did well to pump more than the standard 8 gigabytes of space into this wonderful phone. Moving further along this line, the battery has been given a boost as well to compensate for the larger screen and the great power. Normally, batteries have a fraction of the capacity that the Find 5's has, save for maybe the Motorola Razr Max. Nonetheless, the 2500 mAh battery is able to keep the Find 5 running for really quite a long time. Even though I wasn't using a mobile network, the Find 5 uses HSPA Plus connectivity, which is less battery intensive than LTE, so a 16-hour day of reviewing this phone was never interrupted by the need to charge. That kind of battery life, especially for a larger phone, rivals some of the best that current regular-sized devices have, so this is very impressive indeed. The lack of LTE is probably the only real gap in the connectivity that the Find 5 is capable of. While it is geared for all 3G networks, HSPA Plus is this GSM phone's networks of choice, and it is unknown if there will ever be any LTE variants. Otherwise, you have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and the standard fare of extra capabilities. NFC does become more useful for the Find 5 due to the inclusion of some NFC tags that you can use for quick changes of your settings. And then we come to the software, which gets some credit off the bat because it is already at least the first iteration of Jelly Bean 4.1. It is heavily changed from stock, however, due to Oppo's custom UI, and if you think it looks familiar, you would be right. Many of the elements found in the Oppo UI are like that found in the custom ROM MIUI. Unlike MIUI, however, there is a dedicated app drawer shown after hitting the icon for it, and I like how it just fades into what seems like the original home screens, but is in reality a list of all of your installed applications. This seamless and simplistic interface is helped by the ubiquitously used round square icons, another quality taken from MIUI. These icons are all high resolution too, in order to take advantage of the 1080p screen. I prefer stock Android, but I can't deny how clean things look on the Oppo UI. Even if things seem just a little bit bloated and space could have been populated a little bit better, it still looks quite neat. Menus have a categorical design as headers on the top house various related settings. Swipe left and right to look at them. There is a level of customization involved, though this test unit did not give me too many options at the moment. Finally, we have the lock screen, which is like a simple glass panel that you rotate with a quick flick, revealing your home screens thereafter. So the UI further shows some of the appeal the Find 5 has. Simplicity, cleanly hiding a plethora of features and a lot of power underneath. It's a motif that works, and I'm certainly a fan. The only part about the software that I find weird, besides the usage, or lack thereof, of the screen real estate, which really isn't a huge problem, is the included widgets. They are functional, but they have an odd blob design as the backgrounds that seemed like a little bit of a departure from the motifs we were seeing here, but that's just my thought. And finally, we have the camera. This phone has gone big in a number of key ways, and the 13 megapixel optics are another example of this. However, as we have learned with other high-end phones, high megapixel count doesn't necessarily mean higher quality. It is a good camera, but it is just as good as others and not really much better. Pictures taken in good lighting, as is typical, yield nice, usable pictures with well-rendered colors and good detail. As you take away the lighting, the grain appears. The flash diode does help in these situations, but the camera doesn't always do well with highlights. The shutter-to-picture speed is quite good, making this camera a capable companion for you when you need to snap that quick pic. Extra features include HDR and a couple of interesting frame rate manipulations for video. Though only at 480p, the camera is able to record at 120 frames per second, which is either used for fast motion or conformed to 30 FPS for slow motion. Here's me doing some awesome pen tricks. Yeah. It is a nice feature to have fun with, but obviously it's not the most practical. And so, there you have it. Oppo has gotten a lot of things right with its first foray into the Android market. With incredible power underneath one of the best screens on a mobile device today, this is a phone that should definitely have your attention. It is unknown if the Find 5 will make it to any specific carriers, especially in North America, but for now, the website is where you can get this smartphone. At $499, it is cheaper than a lot of other 16GB smartphones out there, but it is still a hefty tag. After that, however, you do get one of the best unlocked phones in existence right now. If 2013 is going to be the year of the 5-inch screen, then we have right here the year's first blockbuster. For all of the Oppo Find 5 news, stay tuned to AndroidAuthority.com, your source for all things Android.